Are you ready? Let's go!
Don't you sometimes just want to talk about everything? You know, there's days when you can just talk about anything. Need to sit back and chat about nothing at all? Nothing but Julie, coming at you with fun and creative topics and interviews.
Did you hear Julie's podcast? She's got the greatest topics.
Come join the chat about everything, anything, and nothing. So unwind and tune in to Nothing But Julie. Great topics and cool interviews with some pretty awesome people. And now, without further delay, here's Nothing But Julie.
Hello and welcome. This is Julie Schrager, and thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Today I wanted to touch on the subject of what I had discussed last week. For those of you that tuned in, I discussed why women are so critical on themselves. And I thought, well, what a great follow-up to that particular podcast with how we women can take care of ourselves during these times when we're so critical on ourselves. And I'm also going to be including self-care tips on ways to really help ourselves through COVID, because there are many people who might not be taking care of themselves, and it's really a kind of a great opportunity to allow ourselves to really care for ourselves in the best way possible. So last week I spoke about how women are so critical on themselves and all of the reasons that many of us probably already know, but just, kind of brush off and poo-poo at it. So if you are one of those women who, really is critical on yourself, I hope that this will help. It is not something that I just made up. These, the advice is coming from professionals and research that I've done to help myself as well, because I have always been critical on myself in certain areas. And, what can I do to help myself? And then COVID hits and we're all kind of stuck with ourselves. And, like in the beginning, we're kind of cool with it. Oh, yeah, working from home or spending more time with family. But then after how many months? It's like, oh my God, enough. So you start eating a little more, exercising a little less, indulging a little bit more. I, for one, have done that. And so, there comes a time where you're like, okay, we're like 8 months in. What really should I be doing to help myself? And so I have a few tips for you. And these are things that I started to do as well, because, I started sinking. I started getting bored and trying to find everything and anything to do in and outside my house. And my husband and I did a lot of work outside of our house. We redid a lot of things. We bought some new things, kind of revamped everything. But it was also time. We've been in our house for 19 years. We needed to get rid of the old and bring in the new. And then I kind of worked my way inside my house and started redoing some things and little, fun projects. But there comes a time where you're like, oh, enough, like what else can I do? I'm a dog walker and trainer, and everything came to a complete halt for me. And so I had to try and figure out what I could do to keep myself busy. Women, especially women, we need to nurture ourselves in such a way where the physicality part, and spiritually, and I recently became very spiritual, really into, I know, don't give me shit on this. Doesn't mean I'm steering away from my religion or whatever, but I'm inviting in new ideas, and I love collecting crystals and sound bowls, and just looking outside the box to see what else can I do to help nurture myself. And I was talking about this with Rhonda in our podcast that is going to be out tomorrow. About not being a priority. That as women, we wind up making ourselves last. First come the kids, and then the boyfriend, the fiance, the husband, partner, and you don't realize it until you're older, and then you feel kind of guilty about making yourself a priority. But recharging for women is essential. Like I said, physically, spiritually, mentally, it's really important that we allow ourselves to do this. I read a study, that when you regularly exercise and eat well, and get a good amount of sleep, which is not always easy. It's not always easy to get a sufficient amount of sleep. It's not always easy, to exercise regularly and always eat right. It's not easy to do all three of those. But if you really try and you can do some of it, I read that it will, that a woman will have, less anxiety and depression and, heart disease and illnesses. I know that I absolutely despise exercise. I have been doing it my whole life, and I gave myself some time off. And as soon as I gave myself time off, my body was like, yeah, screw you. And I started gaining weight. And I'm like, I have been feeding you well. I have been exercising you forever. You can't give me a few months off without me gaining weight. And I wound up doing this in my mid-40s. And, women in their 40s gain weight. And men, if they do, they can take it right off. Ugh. Well, anyway, it is not easy to do all three. But if you can do a little bit of each one, a little bit of exercise, whether it's gardening or taking a quick walk, anything, because I believe now more than ever in self-care. Excuse me. I am 51 years old. My son is grown, and I have learned to make myself a priority because life is worth living. And if you can find a way to keep yourself going, it's worth it. And it helps for better self-care. All right, women, you need to pamper yourselves. What do I mean by pampering? Believe it or not, going to the dentist. That's pampering yourself. Making sure that you get mammographies and you go to your gynecologist and you get your yearly physical from your gynecologist. And by physical, you know what I mean. If there's something wrong or you feel that there's something wrong, don't wait. Take care of it. There's lots and lots and lots of health protocols going on now due to COVID that many, many places, places are that have put in place. And I mean PPE. So there is a lot of safety involved with that. I, however, have chosen not to go to the dentist just yet. Fortunately, right before COVID, I wound up, getting just like a regular cleaning. But I go like every 6 months. I'm not going to go for a short while until I feel safe because your dentist, the hygienist is like literally on top of you. And no matter what, I just do not feel 100% safe right now. But I did go to my gynecologist and I did get my mammography recently. So what is self-care about? It's about taking care of your health. It's about getting sleep and eating good food and exercise. But it's also about having respect for yourself. If you're friends with people that are negative, see you later. You've got to get rid of them. I don't care how hard it is. I am telling you from experience, those people who you are surrounded by who are negative just bring you down. Um, and they're very critical of themselves too. It's like you don't want to remain on this hamster wheel of negativity. If you can replace negativity with positivity, then you should do it. And it's really important that we make time for fun. Now, I know that many of us have been watching, movies or series on Netflix or Hulu or Prime. That's great. You need to take time to watch, a fun movie or a series. Or if you have a pet, make time to play with them, which I'm sure we all have. Or make a scrapbook or, get a paint by numbers. Something is better than nothing. And one thing I found is my love for reading has come back. When I'm not reading, it's like I don't want to read. But when I start to read, I'm so into it that I can't put it down. And so that's another great way to kind of take some time out, for fun. If you can do it and if you feel that it is okay to do it with COVID, maybe you can go on a weekend getaway or, I don't know, maybe take a different way home. But it's also really important to remember that we have to stay safe with COVID. So, it's a very challenging time. Don't expect to be, this superhuman person that, where you are becoming self-critical again. You can organize your home, your office, even your brain and your personal life. And it's really important that you kind of unclutter things in your life and in your head. And I think one of the most important things is enjoying the simple things. Like the other day I went out walking and I happened to walk around, the time of sunset. And there are these benches in my community and I just stopped walking and I sat there and I actually watched the sunset. I can't remember the last time I actually watched the sunset. I've seen a sunset, but I've never actually watched the sunset. Actually, no, there was one time when I was on a boat and I did see the sunset. But to me, it was just, it was so beautiful. Sometimes you might want to laugh or cry or hug, and that's okay. I really believe that it's really empowering as a woman to take care of yourself. How much better you feel when you do take care of yourself makes you feel so recharged. And we all can get overwhelmed with everything. But if we can manage to remember to take some time out for ourselves, I promise you that it's really going to help, no matter how big or how small. A little bit each day, if you just think of what you can do to help care for yourselves. There's so many other things that you can do. If you want to take a nap, take a nap. Don't feel guilty about it. There's nothing better than recharging yourself. And I'll tell you, one thing that I found that has helped me kind of get going a little more in the morning is when I wake up, I sometimes have to make myself do this, but I will drink a glass of water with a little bit of lemon in it. So lemon water. When you're sleeping at night, you can get a little dehydrated. And so then, it's like you feel kind of not under the weather, but you just don't feel 100% yourself. And I really think that if you drink some water, it just recharges you and kind of gets you going for the day. I also think sometimes, and this is also for women who do have extra time on their hands, you can actually create a list of things that you might want to cook for the week if you enjoy cooking, if you need to cook for your family. And then you can go shopping and you can buy everything, and then you can kind of delve into that, and have something to look forward to. It's not that easy nowadays to have something to look forward to. when I was talking about exercise before, I know you're going to like roll your eyes and you might want to end this podcast, but I promise you, try it. Just try it. Yoga. It is not easy. I'm very type A, and I usually quit after about 10-15 minutes. However, the few stretching exercises that I do really make me feel better. And if you can remember, do a little stretching in the morning after you wake up, you know? And what about dancing? Have you danced by yourself in a room? Doesn't it make you feel great when you've done that? You can have a little mini dance party with yourself. Put your earbuds in and dance around the house. Who cares? If anyone's watching, what a great feeling when you listen to music, right? Or, why don't you just take a few minutes to breathe? It's so easy to do, but we don't do it. But if you breathe in, hold it for a couple of seconds and then let it out, it does something in the brain where I think it kind of lets out endorphins. I remember reading about it, but I don't remember the actual chemical. I don't know if it's serotonin or endorphins, but it helps. It not only helps to decompress, especially if you're having a stressful day, but it really does help with anxiety. If you're kind of stuck at home, whether you're working or not, I mentioned exercise before. If you can clock out 30 minutes of exercise, that would be great. And I'll tell you something. I used to go to Orange Theory, and I had to cancel my membership because of a new job that I had accepted, and it just didn't work with their schedule. But I still continue to do high intensity workouts at home, and that's what Orange Theory is. They do a quick high intensity workout in a short period of time, and you're done. And once you get your heart rate at a certain point, your body continues to burn fat up until the next day or the next 12 hours. So if you can fit in a high intensity workout, not every day, twice or 3 days a week, you can go onto YouTube, and there are so many videos you can watch. One of my favorite is Fitness Blender. They have so many kinds of videos for high intensity, even if you just want to lift weights or if you just want to use your own body for weights. I am telling you, if you're at home, I'm sure that you can take out a little bit of time, to do a walk your dog, walk around the block, walk around your house, do some jumping jacks, take out, do jump rope. I'm really bad at that. It's too high intensity for me, like slamming down on my feet and my knees. But 30 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you can do. I am not a good sleeper, but I have learned a perfect remedy for myself to kind of help me to sleep, get to sleep, and help me to stay asleep. So I think that for those of you who don't have a great sleep routine, possibly finding the best routine for yourself, like maybe thinking about some melatonin, I am telling you that works for me. But what might work for me might not work, for you. But sleep really is important. I certainly do not get enough of it because I'm a night owl and I have a puppy who gets up and, but whatever you can fit in, like what about starting your day off with something pleasant? It doesn't mean like, all right, it's very grounding if you have something that you can do every day. Like for me, I said that I will start my day with a little bit of breathing. I'll do some quick stretches, and then I'll have my glass of water, and then I'll eat a very small breakfast because I'm not crazy hungry, but I will have some green tea. Like a little kind of routine that gives you something to look forward to. And one thing I found is really good is sometimes when you're feeling negative or you have negative thoughts, the best thing to do is make a list. And then you can look them over and kind of have a talk with yourself. I think that sometimes when you list some of the things that are negative or that are bothering you, I'll tell you something. I talk to myself often if there are certain things that are bothering me. And I'm actually able to help self-soothe myself. And we're all intelligent mammals. Write down what's bothering you. And I think it's when you put it down on paper and you're actually reading it now, it's almost like an acknowledgement that you are having these negative thoughts. And I think once you acknowledge it, you can help yourself through all of those negative thoughts and not take over, the positivity in your life. Instead of it just lingering in your brain, there are some things that I really think can help when we are critical on ourselves, or what can we do for self-caring about ourselves. One thing I actually like doing is I love horticulture. And I recently started getting a subscription for succulents once a month. Yeah, I know. It sounds really silly, but I do love succulents. And they're these teeny little pods, teeny, that can fit in the palm of your hand. And I look forward to this once a month where I can plant them and make some really cool succulent designs. Maybe if you like what I like let's say plants, you can start planting in your home, depending on where you live, outdoors. You can start planting herbs, like oregano and basil. They have those indoor, what are they called? Growers when it's too cold outside or too hot. I forget what they're called. If you like to plant, then maybe you should look into getting a tomato plant that you can start growing in your house. And eventually, when the summertime comes, then you can take a clipping of it and you can start your own garden or your own vegetable garden. So you have things to look forward to. It's all about, what can you do to help yourself today, tomorrow, and in the future? And that means, let's say you decide to do a vegetable garden. Well, in the future, you can bring it outside. I think that it's really important to stop and smell the roses. It's really important to take a few moments every day where you connect with yourself. It's always been about others for me. And like I said recently, it finally became about me. Because if there's no me, then all of the things that I'm responsible for are gone. So if you take some time to just, if you breathe in and realize that as much as you think things are bad, they're really not as bad as we think. 100 years ago, things were bad. Things were really bad. Many people who read about history would tell you that, maybe over 100 years ago, they would have loved to be in the year 2020 because 100 years ago, things sucked. We're all going to get through this. We just have to make the best of it. So try and take some time to smell the roses or smell the coffee or smell the tea, Maybe if you have some extra time on your hands and you're not too afraid of getting out and you can still socially distance yourself, you can volunteer. You can volunteer at a dog rescue and maybe give dogs baths, or you can walk them. I always felt that giving back is like food for the soul. Maybe there's something that you can look into. Maybe there's a farm, again, depending on the weather. It's always nice to volunteer. Go shopping. And if you don't want to go shopping on foot, then you can always go shopping online. Or what if you make a nice family dinner? something out of the ordinary. Just it's kind of like, the advice I'm giving, you don't have to follow. But one thing you do need to follow is if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. I remember on this website, I think it was Women's Health, I saw where it said, don't eat kale if you don't like it. Yeah. I mean, kale is disgusting. I'm sorry. I don't care how much salt you put on it. I don't care if you put it in the air fryer. I will not eat it. Okay? You don't have to feel obliged to do something if you don't want to. But there is something that will work for you. There is always something out there for everybody. And sometimes it's really great to just detox from, all the technology that's going on and just limit the time that, you are on some kind of technology. And that's where my reading comes into play. Like, it's a beautiful, gorgeous day in sunny Florida today. It's finally drier and cooler. And I plan on reading a little bit more outside with my two dogs. Well, I'm not reading with them, but they're going to hang out with me. But I think that there are definitely a lot of self-care tips that we can do. Sit and enjoy those moments. Like I think we all have very high expectations of ourselves. And I think that some of them are a little unrealistic. But I think it's important to prioritize yourself and your well-being and make time for that. So this is really me touching on women. But what I'd like to do also is talk about what all of us, men and women, can do, even children, boys and girls. What is it that we can do as far as self-care during COVID? It's not just about women and what the women can do. Although I'm a woman and I do think that, we're the stronger species and we wear our hearts on our sleeves, many of us. But what can we all do? All of us, all of the different people in this world. What can we do for self-care, during COVID? There are some people who might listen to this and go, yeah, okay, shut the fuck up, Julie. All right. You're 51 and you're done. And then I have 5 children and it's not easy to take time out. And it's hard enough that I've got all of these kids and, coronavirus, when it started to spread, I'm dealing with my children. I'm dealing with anxiety. But you need to make that time. Even if it's for 10 minutes. It could be a very, very simple self-care plan. Like right before you go to bed, even though you might want to be ready to pass out. A lot of people have started journaling. They call it journaling, but when I was a kid, it was called a diary. And it still is today, depending on how what text you want to use. But you can keep a journal and you can write in how your mood was during the day, or you can, let me tell you this, when I had a diary, it was almost like all of the windows of the world opened. I was able to express myself in my own private little world. And there's something very freeing about that. So if you start journaling, all of a sudden you're going to start seeing your hand just writing and your thoughts are just going to keep going. It's very freeing if you can keep like a daily journal and write things down. And then you can see how you can help yourself through it. Like what things you can control, what things you can't control. And mostly focusing on positivity. Like my sister created these beautiful, almost like affirmation cards. You can start your day off with an affirmation. Pick any card, and whatever affirmation that card reads, then you follow that affirmation for the day. It's really not that hard because it's kind of like the cards are doing the work for you. I do believe in having some kind of social outlet, whether it's a family, a friend that you can maybe reach out to and have a conversation with. Because trust me when I tell you, everybody is looking to have a conversation. Even introverts. There are times when introverts really do like to talk and like to express how they feel. Maybe you know someone who's feeling out of sorts due to COVID or a bit lonely. Give them a call. Visit them socially distanced. Or you can do a video chat. There's always something or someone who's always looking to help or to talk. And I had mentioned before about becoming a little more spiritual. There's like this app that's called I think it's called the motivation app. I can't recall it. But you can download an app, you can go online and read an article or a story that's motivational. Something that might make you feel a whole lot better about how you're feeling now, because we are all feeling shitty between COVID, the presidency, the election, the riots, Black Lives Matter, lots of deaths. There's a whole load of shit going on, and a lot more than many of us had ever anticipated. And many of us are not built to deal with this much stress and don't have the best coping skills. And many of these self-care tips can help. Helping others, oh my God, it's probably the best thing I've ever done. And I've always been like that since I was a kid. I love helping others. I feel so good inside. I don't feel like, all right, I did it. Now God's going to love me. No, I actually really love helping people. And I am there for anyone that needs me. And my closest friends know that about me, and they know that I could be a shoulder to lean on. But one thing I did find is to be as creative as you can. And many of us are like, I'm not creative, or I can't think of anything to do. There's this website that you can go on. Well, actually, there's a few where you can, they give like 100 or 200 ideas of what you can do every day to be creative. It gives you these amazing ideas. I am creative, but to a point, I go on Pinterest all the time to find ideas on things that I can do in and around my house. Pinterest is a great resource to help with the creativity that you have. If you like creating scrapbooks, you can go onto Pinterest and you can see all the different scrapbook ideas. I love scrapbooking. I haven't done it in a while, but I'm more into plants and, like I said earlier, horticulture, and I've gotten so many amazing ideas with what to do with my succulents. You can go out and buy some wood, and you can create a sign, like a board sign, a welcome sign from outside. You can, like I said before, I got this paint by numbers from Amazon, and you literally look at the number and you look at the color and you paint it. Now, in the end, this masterpiece I did not draw. I just colored in between the lines, but it took up some time and I felt like, oh, cool, look what I did. I also think one of the most important things for self-care, and we have all been there where we just become lazy. I don't really love that word, but I can't think of another one right now. Or we just have, no motivation. Okay, we have had a lack of motivation. And I think it's important that no matter how much we don't want to do it, we have to try. We really, really have to try. Oh, and guys, hey, listen, something that I started to do, which is so important yet hard. You have to put that phone down. You can't stay on your phone and then try and go to bed. Put the phone down a half hour before you're ready to go to bed. Shut it down and close your eyes and just let yourself kind of fall asleep if you can. Dream. Think of things that, are lovely and nice and kind, and you will be able to fall asleep. Now, I was going to say read a book, but here's the thing. I have a Kindle. I don't read an actual physical book that I hold in my hands anymore. I do have them, but isn't a Kindle the same as technology? I used to use reading as an avenue to help me get to sleep, but most of the time when I'm reading a really good book, I cannot go to sleep until I finish it. So reading might not help you 100%, but I think it's better than being on your phone. And if you can fit in time for nutrition, make sure that you're eating enough protein. I don't. I know that we need to eat well, and I try very hard to eat well, but let me tell you, damn it, there are most of the time, I have a sweet tooth. And I know, the longer you spend not eating sweets, the more you get used to not eating it. Well, I call bullshit. Bullshit. Nope. I have spent weeks, if not months, having sweets, and there was never a time when I stopped craving it. And it wasn't hard for me once I stopped. It got easier to not grab it, but I still felt the desire, to have it. And something that someone, kind of taught me a short while ago about, like meal prep. I think it's really cool if you have the time, which many of us do, or if you really want to do it. It's not that easy, and sometimes it could be expensive for some. But if you can do meal prep, it's like what I was saying earlier about the menu. You can kind of start off by thinking of exactly all the ingredients, everything you're going to get, and then you do it ahead of time. So, this way, if you don't have to cook for anybody, you could just grab it, microwave it, throw it in the oven, and that's it. Instead of making one meal every night. What a pain in the ass that is, I'll tell you. But I have never gotten into meal prep. I haven't done it, and I don't know if I ever will. It's a great idea. But, I think that as we get farther along in this quarantine, we get more bored and restless, and many of these emotions that we all have, we start to struggle with. So that's why I think that many of us have kind of hit a precipice to where we can no longer be bored. We can no longer just be sitting around. And many of us, yesterday was the first beautiful day in Florida since, May? April? And I can't tell you how many people I saw outside in my community walking. It was like the first beautiful day everyone has been waiting for. And they were all outside. And I noticed that there were some people who literally looked exactly the same. There were some that might have put a few pounds on, like I did. I think that people have just been counting down the days. And I was like, good for them for, making that time to get outside and start up again. Because when it's beautiful in Florida, it was windy and cool. Like I mentioned before, you don't have to just walk. You can bike. Aren't there like virtual 5Ks now? They're doing a lot of stuff virtually. I don't consider Florida to be full of nature. Yes, there is a lot of nature, but it's not like it was where I used to live in New York. There's no hills, there's no mountains, but there are some nature parks, and they're free. And if it's not too cold or if it's not too hot where you're living, and you can be socially distant from most people, which, nature preserves are, well, what a lovely thing to do on a day. You can, if it's cold right now, just wear a few layers and head on out. Go somewhere where the scenery is beautiful. Breathe in that beautiful, cool, crisp air, and go for a nice walk with a nature preserve. At a nature preserve. You don't have to be with anyone. Enjoy yourself and enjoy your time alone with yourself, and enjoy nature. Take some pictures. If you have an iPhone and you have portrait, you could take beautiful pictures in portrait mode. Go for a walk in your neighborhood. Just like I said, make sure that you distance yourself. I also think that it's important that we try and make as much fun for ourselves as we can. Laugh. How can we laugh? I don't know. Have a dance party in your house with your husband or your partner or your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your sister, your brother, your mother, your father, your aunt. Blast the music, like I said before. You can paint an area of your house. It doesn't sound like fun. I actually really do like painting. But I think it's really important that we manage our stress during this time in the best way possible. And you don't have to do anything that I said, but maybe you can think of your own things that you really like that you might not have done in a while that you still can do during COVID, and do it. Maybe you used to run and you stopped doing it and now you have the time. Well, start back up slowly. I used to run all the time, and then I got shin splints, and then I tried to jog again years later. I couldn't even get through the first few minutes. I was in such pain. But I hate to say it, walking is better than running. It's easier on your bones, but lots of people love it, and good for them if they can do it. But mental health issues come into play the more stress we have, the more anxiety we have. It could lead into disease, like chronic disease. If you have like a pre-existing condition, it can enhance it. That's why it's really important that we figure out what is the best way to manage our stress, especially in these uncertain times. There are so many resources out there. The internet is unlimited for you to find ideas. And if you can't think of anything on your own, then go on and Google things that you can do. If you don't like any of the tips I gave you, mine are pretty simple. But they're so simple and effective. Like, what does your version of self-care look like? Do you have a version? Have you thought about, I really need to take care of myself. I really need to start doing this. It really doesn't take much. I mean, why do you think that practicing self-care is an important thing to do during this time? Well, the reason why I'm doing this is because I believe that it's taken a back seat during COVID. I also think that self-care takes a back seat for many of us, even because of our life and what's going on in our lives, But I think that we're so used to getting up, going to work, having, your schedule, or, maybe some of you didn't work, but you still had a schedule, something that you would do every day or look forward to. But now many of us are staying in our pajamas until noon. Some of us aren't even bathing. And you just kind of fall into this rut. And like I said earlier, the beginning parts of it are fun and great, but you just get to a point where you're like, ugh, I've had enough of this, When there's an excess of time, there can, be a decline in our motivation. That can lead to, certain psychological effects. And isolation is not easy for some, for many. And that's why self-care strategies are so important. I have to tell you, the most important thing by far is getting dressed in the morning. It actually makes you feel so good. I remember when I was raising my son, for a period of time, I was in my pajamas because I had to tend to him all the time. And this spit up and this and that. And I was like, screw it. I'm not going to put on my good clothes. But I kind of started feeling really down about myself. And I got up and I would wash my face and brush my teeth and I would get dressed. And even if I was stuck in for the day because it was snowing outside or for whatever reason with my son, taking those few steps made me feel more human. Does that make sense? Yeah, your outward appearance really can dictate, how you feel inside. So I think it's important to stay hygienic and shower, make sure that you're getting dressed. Like you can act as though this COVID quarantine is, really just like any other day with a few small changes, color your hair or try a new moisturizer, shave, You could wear some lipstick or put mascara on if that's something that you used to love to do that you're not doing now. Drink plenty of water, have some tea and coffee. You make sure that those things that you really enjoy, you're just not forgetting about. You need to keep many of those things that you have done for yourself. You have to keep those going still in your sight. Trying to eat healthy and, like I said, drink plenty of water and trying to maintain some kind of schedule. Think of things that you can do throughout the day. Write them down or make a mental note. Because I know, for one, for me, having things, no matter how small, it's still something to look forward to when our lives are kind of an empty shell, right now. For me, I'm completely off a sleep cycle, which is why my sleep is so messed up. And, people talk about sticking to a routine. It's very hard to stick to a routine. And especially when I'm walking dogs. Like now my business has started, getting back to where it was. But there are still some days that, I'll have off. And there are days where I'm up at 6 a.m. because I have, 4 different clients' dogs that I have to take care of. And I ensure that I give all of these babies enough time individually. So I'd rather get up early and know that I gave all these babies enough time throughout the day and night. But I am now extremely tired by like 9 o'clock. I still have maybe 1 or 2 dogs I still have to take out. My sleep is screwed for that week or for those few days. So I'm always playing catch up. So that's something I still have to kind of learn to do. But I'm certainly not going to have a schedule to where I get up at 6 a.m. every morning when I'm not watching dogs, because no, I just can't do that. It's really about doing what you can, but making sure that you do stuff. Like you might not be able to work at full capacity. But there are still those projects that you can still take on. Things that you have been wanting to do that you haven't addressed. There's one more thing in my house that I have not done, that I have literally been procrastinating with even since COVID. And that is wiping down my walls. Yes, walls. I have a mop specifically purchased for my walls, and I have yet to wipe them down. It's just a little bit of vinegar and water. I haven't done it, and I don't know why. I just feel like, it's just another thing I have to do around my house. But the thing is once I start doing it, I do feel better, but I don't know. I just don't want to do that. Some people can do spring cleaning in the wintertime or the fall. Any project that you can think of that can take up some time. Have you ever noticed that when you do one thing, it leads into another? It's like a domino effect. So, that can kind of keep you busy. I want to also mention that, and I know that many of you know this, that when you do exercise, any kind of exercise, even if it's doing projects around the house, you're still exercising. It helps with your sleep, and it helps with your attitude on life, and it also reduces stress and weight. Anything that you can do to just get your mind off of the shit that's happening right now. I think that it's very important that we stay sane during COVID. And some of these self-care tips I really hope have helped. I'm sure that you've heard of many of them, but have you started to do them? It's important that our sanity is kept at a good volume, and that we stay healthy. We don't know how much longer we are in this. It is now mid-November, and we are having a rise in numbers in all 50 states and all over the country and all over the world. And it's a very tricky time, and life is unbalanced, and there's a lot of angry people out there, and there's a lot of very humble people, and the end result is we're all human, and we're all just trying to get by. And we all need to take all that frustration not out on each other, but take it out on self-care and projects, and try and, coincide your frustration with projects, and learn how to kind of balance life and home and stress and anxiety with many of these self-care tips. I am telling you that if you do one or just two, it makes a significant difference. And make sure that these self-care things that you want to do are reflective of your personality. Like, it's you want to improve on, maybe some tasks that are already done in your daily routine. Like I said, I have a puppy and I also have another dog. And now that it's cooler out, I can take not my puppy, but my dog for walks during the day versus waiting at night. I love going for walks. I love bringing my baby for walks. It's not the most fun or exciting, but it's breaking up the day, my daily routine. And it kind of staves off boredom, But I think that the end result here is that we all remain vigilant and positive, because the negativity, it just gets into your soul. And I really would hate for us to get so wrapped around the negativity, because it can take over our lives, and it's a really shitty feeling, and we all wind up feeling kind of crappy. And there are days when you feel that way, and you know what? It's okay. It's completely okay to feel like crap. And there's times when you just need to go with it. But you know what? Everybody has either a friend or a loved one or an 800 number where they can call for help, or to speak to someone, or to go online or social media and see that you're not alone and we're all in this together. And it sure makes me feel a lot better to know that I'm not the only one feeling this way. And I'm not the only one who, gets anxious and stressed out. And if we all know that we're in it together, then I certainly hope that can help. So that completes my self-care series. Again, many of those things that I've discussed, I do myself. And I can tell you that it does work. Just take the time to do it. And I really do hope that this will be a distant memory for all of us once a vaccine comes out, and once we all kind of come together and learn from this, because it really kind of sucks. But we will get through it, and we will become better people from it, I hope. So with that said, I thank you so much for joining me. Nothing But Julie is the name of the podcast. Feel free to subscribe and like my podcast. And also you can find me on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook with the name Nothing But Julie. And I hope that you have a wonderful hump day. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your week. And don't forget, take care of yourself.